Good morning. Well, I think I'm doing better today, so thank you, Jesus. Psalms 34, 5 through 8. I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. You know, we have a lot of fears in this life, and he can deliver us from our fears. I have discovered that. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him, or woman who takes refuge in him. And I take refuge in him. And I've been talking to him a lot lately because I tell you what, sometimes there's just some things you don't know what to do about except pray. So I just pray, and the Lord, he answers. It's amazing. He may say yes, he may say no, but he's in control, and I feel better after I put it on his shoulders and not mine. Now, don't you love this blue house this morning? And I'm getting ready to treat my feet. I wanted to just get it. I tell you what, this morning, James kissed me by. I wiped my nose. It's running. These allergies are terrible, and my voice don't sound the greatest. But he knocked on the door, and I thought, who's that? And so, anyhow, it was him. And he said, mailman. And he came in, and he bought a package. And he had went to the office and found this mail for me from my friend Tom. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but anyhow, thank you, Tom. So I got into it, and man, it was hard to open, but I got it opened, and then I pulled it out. I'll show it to you in a minute. But he wrote a little note. He's the one that bought me those Granny Pat books, which I have just enjoyed so much. Especially that first one was so good. And she's not done yet. Anyhow, he says, hello, Lois. It's me, Tom again, because he keeps sending me presents. He's a precious man. I bought you this chit chat with Granny Pat. Here it is, mug. Pink inside. Is that pretty? Her granddaughter, Jessica, sells them on Etsy. Well, I didn't know that. Well, enjoy, he said. This is just the right size. Now, I love burnt orange, but pink is my really favorite color. And I wear pink a lot. And I love pink. So thank you, Tom. I don't get a lot of presents, but Tom makes up for it. That's okay. Grandma's good. I don't need any presents. You know, when you get to be 91, you pretty well have everything you need. And I do have mugs, Tom, but not a Granny Pat one till today. So thank you. It's just the right size for my coffee, and you can put it in the microwave to warm it up if you need to. I'll tell you what, that'd be good to drink my tea out of. I buy sweet tea all the time. So God is good, and what are we going to talk about today? And I was thinking about all the games we used to play when we were kids in school and the things that happened. And I have a lot of good memories of school days, especially when I was basketball queen when I was a sophomore. And that was unusual. I mean, you had to have a gown and all that. And I had a girlfriend that went to the Goodwill that lived in town. And see, I went to church in town, and I made friends with people. And she said, well, I know where to get you a gown. So she got me one, and it was strapless. And it had a built-in bra. And I didn't have enough to hold it up. But we solved that problem. A couple of wash rags did real good. So I had a beautiful gown, and she got it at the Goodwill for like $3. What a blessing the Goodwill was. Oh, the Goodwill's been good to me over the years. So I had that gown, and then when I was coming down the stair, there were stairs that I had to come down, and then Eddie Wells, the captain of the team, had to put the crown on my head. And as I was coming down, I didn't know to hold my gown up, and I stepped on it. And I've told that before. So I had to back up and get off that gown. and it was a beautiful gown. People donate those gowns, and later on in life, when the girls was little, like 8, 9, 10 years old, I used to go to Goodwill and buy them gowns like that where they could play dress up, and they liked it. This is good coffee. So this morning, as we go through a little table talk, y'all just pull up your chair. See those chairs on the porch? And I think there's some right here behind me. Set yourself down right there and we'll talk. This morning, when I had to go with James to the Home Depot because he needed some concrete blocks, how exciting. Somebody said this morning, you know, why does he still work? He acts like he's going to live to be 100 years old. Well, he might, but that's not the point, I told her. He don't do it for the money. He does it for the good time he gets out of it. He just enjoys seeing an old house refurbished and look beautiful again. He's been doing that for years and he loves it and he's good at it. So let him do it till Jesus comes. Keeps him out of my hair sometimes. I didn't know. I mean, you don't want to sit around with the husband all the time, really, but I did that with Buddy a lot, and you get awfully fond of him. I'm real fond of James. I never dreamed I would be married for the third time, children. You just don't know what God has in store for you. When you serve Him, you just don't know. Honestly, this morning I was going through YouTube, and this other woman came through, and she was telling about her children, her son, one son, and her were not speaking and stuff, and how you have kids that don't get along with you and how to handle it. And she's only got 9 videos on, but she had like 8,000 views on. I wonder what that was. Let's see if I can find it. But it was interesting. And she had one tooth missing right here. So I don't worry about my tooth missing over there. Let's see if I can find her. I doubt if I can. But it was a strange thing the way she has 9 videos and very few subscribers, and yet people are listening. How do you resolve when your children don't speak to you anymore? And that happened to me one time because my baby daughter, and I hate to tell it, and I'm not going to, but we didn't get along much. She's always been real bossy, but she got on marijuana with her boyfriend, and she wanted to smoke it all the time. And she had a good job, and she was still living at home. And I invited her to move out because she said, Mom, you're crazy. If you don't let me do everything I want to do, I hope she don't watch this, but that's what she said. I said, well, honey, you can't live here. And my husband, Buddy, backed me up because she was running me crazy. 19 years old. They need to move out when they're 18 and fly their own way. They really do. And twins did that. And Dennis did that as soon as he got 18. And of course, I moved out at 16 and made my own way. You got to stay busy. But anyway, Kim is a wonderful, wonderful woman now. But she had a lot of lessons to learn and she went through a lot of sorrow. But she did get off dope and got married and had 2 children. And he was a rotten egg, bad, and ran around on her and ended up in prison. And she divorced him. And I was praying for her all this time because, you love your kids for better or for worse. You don't like what they do, but you love them. So when she finally had her babies and we reconciled, well, she reconciled with me. I was there. But so I prayed so much. I cried so much. And I've had a lot of sorrows, and a lot of you all have. But I just didn't give up. And that's what we have to do. We just don't give up. We just keep praying and trusting and not fearing. And I did fear a lot back then that will she ever? But when she had those children, things changed. She became a mama. Now, mamas are different people, and she raised them good. And of course, they're about 40 years old now. And her Melissa is one of my favorite grandchildren, and we're close, very close. She is now a dog groomer, like I was for so long. But like I was saying the other day, I've had so many different jobs and different things to do in life. I've worked in factories. I was a wedding photographer for a while, and I did it with the 35 millimeter camera, which did a real good job. And then I bought me a bigger one that would do bigger, and I did that. And that was before we went on the evangelistic field. And Buddy would go with me, and he would carry my equipment around behind me. And I took a lot of wedding pictures. And I remember one time I was doing a big wedding in the Catholic Church. And don't you know, the best man fainted, fell backwards, and laid there. Well, what do? You're filming the thing, taking pictures, and there he is laying on his back. Well, they carried him out in the other room and gave him smelling salts and stuff, and he came to. And they came back, and we went on with the wedding. And so I just filmed the rest of it. But I got tired of that. You try things, and if you don't like it, do something else. And I did. So I started babysitting and keeping little kids, because that way I could be home and have my kids and raise them and be there when they come home from school. And I know my son Dennis that we adopted, he would come home hungrier than a horse. So I learned as a mother to keep a pot of beans, chili, or something on the stove cooking, so when he got home he could eat right away, and he could have that and supper too. That's what he did. And he and that just, these boys, when they get in that growing stage around 12 years old, they need a lot of food, a lot of calories. So I would just feed him good, and he was a good kid. And he turned out wonderful, and he's a grandpa now with so many grandkids. And I really don't know how many grandkids and great grandkids I got. God knows I don't, because I never see them anyway, except on Facebook or something like that. But that mother that was talking about that, finally she is making up with her son, and she sent him a text and said, "How are you?" And they hadn't been speaking, I guess, and he answered her, and he said, "I'm fine. How are you? Do you still crochet?" And that opened the door. You can open the door to some of these broken relationships if you are the first one to put down the gauntlet and say, we're going to start talking, and not just fight when you put down the gauntlet, like, "I'm never going to forgive you again." I had a grandson. He's getting ready to retire from the service, and I'll never forget. So I was up visiting them wherever they were, and he was about 16, 17 years old, and he had a girlfriend. And I've always hated cigarettes and the smell of them and everything. And he had this little girlfriend, and I've told this story before because it made an impression on me, and it did her too, and it did him too, Brian. But anyhow, so we was out in the yard, and his little girlfriend lit her up a cigarette, and she was smoking it, and I said, and it was standing right close to me, and I just kind of got it, took it right out of her mouth, and just dropped it on the ground and stepped on it. I said, "Young woman, you're not smoking around me. I'm not having it. If you want to smoke, you smoke someplace else." And boy, Brian got furious. Now he threw down the gauntlet and he said, "Grandma, that was not nice, and I am never, ever speaking to you again as long as I live." I said, "Oh, Brian." And you know what? He stayed that way for a couple of 3 days because I was there for a week. But you know what? She quit him, and she's gone. So he spoke to me. I guess she wasn't for him. I mean, honestly, that little girl was impotent, and she knew good and well I didn't want no smoking. So, goodbye, girl. And she was gone. He's married to a wonderful girl, got two wonderful daughters, and he's getting ready to retire from the Air Force in a couple of years. I don't know. And he married a girl that was in the service. That's a wonderful girl, and I've only met her one time, I think, but I see her on Facebook and see the girls on Facebook, and they're getting so big. I see most of my grandkids on Facebook, and they have messed up Facebook so bad I hate it. I just can't hardly stand Facebook anymore. You can't hardly find what you want, and they're advertising you want a half bath. I don't want a half bath. I want a whole bath. Or do you want to do this or that with your bathroom? They're doing all kinds of advertisements on Facebook, just like the neighbors thing. It's turned into a business for a lot of people to get on Facebook. I think Instagram does that too. I don't care for Instagram much or TikTok, but I do some TikTok, just shorts. Now there's my little friend for up in New Jersey. I can see things coming down, but I turned my phone off this morning. I'm not going to have that ringing while I'm chatting with y'all, and that's a fact. It's going to be quiet while we're talking. Y'all get you something to drink, didn't you? I got my coffee. I'll listen to this video before I publish it and make sure it's loud enough. But you know that dear little friend of mine, she's not so little. I think she must be 5'7" and I'm 5'2". But uh, Kentucky Life with Debbie, she was doing a video. It was a 40 number 46, and she was giving some talking about things that we need to think about, and it was really good. And I watched it all the way through because, and I couldn't help but chuckle once in a while. The way she would say things is just entertaining. So she was giving some advice that she had read, and sometimes she tells jokes. And she told one, and I can't remember what it was, and I got to tell it to James. He's out working this morning, and I'm sitting here drinking coffee, getting ready to watch Hannity, and I've talked long enough this morning. I've got to get better subject to talk about. Chit Chat with Granny Pat and I both have told most all the stories we know, and we might just have to retire. I don't know. What do we talk about now? Now, I like them when y'all ask questions and need answers like that. One girl said, what advice for uh, graduates 2025? And that gave me some good ideas. But I have come to the conclusion that most people need to be busy doing something they like. And if you get a job you hate, you can do it, but it's misery because I've had some of them. Because, see, honey, we had to have money or we couldn't eat. So you will work at stuff you don't want. It's good training for you. And I have worked at jobs I hated, running an electric screwdriver all day long, every day to put these TV cabinets together. It was tough. I mean, I was young. I mean, I was about 20 years. No, I was really only about 18 because I did that before I went to California. I rode, and Buddy had went in the Navy, and I stayed with Daddy, and me and Daddy both worked at that cabinet factory. We would drive in town, and I tell you what, it was about 20 miles from the farm, coming into New Albany where the factories were. And down on the river, they had a tannery factory, and it stunk so bad where they cured skins and made leather. It really smells bad. But right down along the river there, they had factories, and they had uh, a cabinet factory that they made TV cabinets. And back then, the biggest TV you could get was like a 13-inch or 17-inch. That was big as it would go. And if you could afford them, you was rich because most of them were 13-inch screen, and a lot of them were just black and white. Color came out finally on TVs. But I remember when I was in California, I managed to buy a TV when I was in California, 11 inches cabinet, little cabinet. And we only had two stations out in California. And me and my girlfriend would watch it, both of us pregnant. Our husbands both was gone overseas. Her husband was gone, Buddy was gone. So we would get together and watch my little black and white TV. You know, I Love Lucy was on back then. And I got to see her in person because I made some trips to Hollywood. when I was living in California. I went to Queen for a day and some of those other things. And we went to see, me and Nancy, my girlfriend, went to see the New Year's parade that they have out there every year in person. You sat upon, they had benches you could sit on, and she had some kind of camera that she could take videos of that. And she did. And I remember we had to take the train to Hollywood out there where the parade was. And I don't remember exactly where the parade was. They have it every year still, I think. So I was about 3.5, 4 months pregnant. And I remember riding that train. And that's the first day that I felt those twins kick in my tummy when I rode that train out to watch that parade with Nancy. And she was pregnant also, but her baby went full time, and it was a little boy, and mine came early, 2.5 months. And I didn't. We just she went her way, and I went mine. And the next time I saw her, she said, "Well, I got a divorce, and I remarried. I married a lieutenant." Woo! What, Nancy? She said yes, and he's getting restationed, so we're leaving. And that's the one I bought that little old car from her husband for $300. That little old Plymouth or whatever it was that had just one seat that I could haul the kids around in. Charles, he's gone. She's got, I never did meet her lieutenant. Strange things happen sometimes. Goodbye, Nancy. One thing in this life, and my girlfriend, Anna Marie Atwood, who has now gone on to heaven, she said, everything keeps changing. And I told James that this morning. He said, what's going to happen today, you reckon? I said, I don't know. It's all up to the Lord. We just have to roll with the punches. That's another cliche. Make the best of it. That's another one. And that's what we have to do is just make the best of whatever happens. And sometimes, honey, you cry through it. And that's the best you can do. Just bawl till you're done. Because there's a lot of sad things happen to everybody. Nobody gets away without sorrow, I don't believe. It just, I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to lose your loved ones eventually if you live that long. I've lost so many. I mean, here I am, 91 years old, and I feel good. And I thank you, Jesus. And I don't know how long I'll be here, but I have determined in my heart, with the help of the Lord, just keep on keeping on, having fun with James. Even if I have to sit at the Home Depot and wait on him, it don't do any good to gripe and carry on. Does that make things better? No, it doesn't. So, get you a cup of coffee, sit down, read a book. This looks like it would be a good place to read a book, don't you think? Right there by the water. I may leave this on. No, I'm going to watch Hannity. But sometimes I put these kind of things on YouTube on my TV, and I like thunderstorms. Now, used to, when we was on the evangelistic field, we traveled for 14 years full time on love offering from church to church. Well, I had a couple of little recorders that would record whatever. We recorded Buddy's music. I still have a lot of his sermons and tapes that I recorded. I still have them. He did some good ones. But I also, one time we was parked by a little creek that just trickled so pretty. I just loved it. I would go out and sit by it. There was no mosquitoes. And I recorded it. And then I would just play it later when I didn't have a creek. Now that was before they had CDs. That was back in like 1981, 82, 83. How many years has that been? A lot of years. And later on, don't you know, they started putting out CDs with thunder and lightning, and you could listen. So then, and I didn't use my little tapes I had made anymore. I bought the CDs and put them in a CD player I had. And I love that. And then I discovered not too long ago, a couple of 3 years maybe, that YouTube has thunder and lightning and storms and beautiful scenery and birds chirping. If you turn the sound up on this, you can hear the birds chirping, and you're just sitting out by the water. And it's just really nice to read by and put that on TV. Try it sometimes. You might like it if you're a reader. And I am a reader. When I was a little girl, about 9 years old, and I started reading voraciously because we had went to a movie. Daddy took us to a movie, and And the movie was so good, and they said, and this was made from a book so and so. Well, I took the name and I said, we got a library at school, and I went to try to check it out, and the teacher wouldn't let me. She said, gotta have a note from your mom. So I got a note from my mom, and that was the first book I ever read that I just could not lay down. Did not know all the big words, but I just went on through it. And I thought that, heaven must be one big library, and I could read all the most interesting books that I want to read. And I like Westerns. Now, when I was going through my 30s, I read every science fiction book that New Albany Library had, and I read everything I could find on Australia, which was fascinating. And I just and now I'm going through a phase where I'm reading some like life stories of people. You just go through phases, chapters. James says, name your YouTube chapters of my life. And you just have another chapter all the time. And I'm going through a new chapter, and this one is different, kiddos. I mean, I'm sitting here talking to God only knows how many people. When we was on the evangelistic field to church, the biggest crowd you could have, the biggest crowd we ever have was overseas when we went to uh, St. Vincent. And it's a big island, and the weather is great. They're all black people, and they speak English because it's owned by England. And the queen and the king are the boss of it, and they're very wonderful people. And there was a big church over there that run around 2000, and we met somebody that had moved from there in a church we was preaching at here in the USA. And she said, you got to go to St. Vincent, to my home church. So she wrote her pastor, and her pastor invited us to come. Well, then we had to raise the money to go, which would run around $2,000. And we didn't make no big plea, but somebody gave us enough money to go. And we went and stayed for 3 weeks. And I was making hair bows and stuff at that time. And I took a bunch of that with me. And so, because I had to have something to do, I made hair bows and I painted and I did things on the evangelistic field to keep me busy. But making hair bows, I made a lot of money that I could spend the way I wanted to. Go to Sears and Roebuck or J.C. Penney's and buy me a new dress, because that's all the Assembly of God people wore in the 1980s. But now we all wear jeans and little shirts and blouses and any way you want to dress, as long as it's decent. And so, anyway, I taught those women over there how to make bows and to raise money for their church on their own. And after I got back, I sent them several boxfuls of supplies, and which cost a lot of money to send, but we went ahead and did it because God had blessed us. You know, when God blesses you, you can bless others. That's what you can do. So we sent them boxes of stuff, and I hope they made a lot of money, but several of those people learned how to make hair bows and different things for their hair out of different materials. And my bows were beautiful. And that was before China was starting making bows for the Dollar Tree and all these places. I would take my bows to these little girls' shops, and I put them on a white sheet of paper with a clippy, and I would sell them to them for 50 cents a dollar a piece, which they cost like at least 2 cents to make. I mean, I made big profit, and then they would sell them for $2, $3, and but then China must have seen one of mine because they started making them, and now you can get them most anywhere. I bought a whole bunch the other day for a quarter a piece at a yard sale, and they're cute, and I wore one or two of them already that had like white bows, green bows, just big bows that little kids wear. But grandma can wear it if she wants to, can't I? Well, anyhow, Granny Pat, and I call her Pat, she was telling about the other day making these scrambled eggs and putting baking powder in it. And so, uh, and she had asked me, did these sunglasses I wore yesterday, were they uh, bifocals or what? And I said, no, they're just some I bought at a yard sale. And I just thought it'd be fun to wear them because they match my shirt. So I was just messing around. But so anyhow, I told her that I saw about her recipe about making scrambled eggs, and I was kind of anxious to try it. So she texted back on comment to put you need to use more than just one or two eggs. So I scrambled four this morning for me and James, made some sausage and some ham and some toast, and I had some good jelly. And so I scrambled them with the big, it makes them fluffier. And you know what? They were delicious. I made four, and James ate three of them, and I ate one, and that was a plenty. And I eat ham, and he eats sausage. And so, and I had a pancake for him, so, but I had a piece of toast with apricot jelly. Yum, yum, yum. I think I busted my eat eat less, my eat less diet. I think I just messed it up bad this morning, but I'll try to eat less the rest of the day. But I wanted to go get me some chicken livers. Those chicken livers where they drop them and fry them right now at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Honey, you can't beat them with a stick if you like chicken livers. And I do. And you know what? I started taking my B12 again 2 or 3 weeks ago, sometime or other. And I am feeling stronger. Sometimes and this morning I didn't go back to bed when I got up. I just slept right on through to 5 o'clock, and I'm sleeping better. I'm doing better, feeling better, drinking my coffee, talking to y'all. And my goodness, here we go, 31 minutes. So love y'all. God bless you. Walk that path where Jesus will be pleased with you. Bye bye.